Hi, ladies and gents, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of review for topic 9 because tomorrow on Wednesday we are going to be taking our test for topic 9. So let's go jump in our workbooks and do our review together. Our review pages in our workbook are going to start on page 573. So if you need to pause me to go turn to page 573 and get your pencil, pause me now. And then once you're ready, come on back to me and we're going to do these problems together. Okay, so let's look at side A, or sorry, let's look at the left side first. Remember, the left side is giving us an explanation and an example, and then the right side are going to be some problems for us to solve by ourselves. So set A on the left here says 10 tens make 100. You can count by hundreds. So instead of counting by ones or by tens, we can actually count by hundreds in the same way. So we can go 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. So that means that 700 equals 7 hundreds. So if you count these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundreds blocks. And there are 0, 10 blocks and 0, 1 blocks. So 700 equals 7 hundreds, 0 tens, and 0 ones. That's why we write out the number 700 like this, with a 7 in the hundreds place, a 0 in the tens place, and a 0 in the ones place. Let's try at number 1 on the right side. So we're going to complete the sentence just like we did on the left side, but with this problem. So, can you try and fill this in by yourself first? Use the left side as your example, and then come back to me once you think you have all the right things filled in. Okay, so first let's count up by 100s and see what our number is. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. So 900 equals, how many hundreds are there? 9. There's a 9 in the hundreds place, or there's 9 hundreds blocks. How many tens blocks are there? 0. There's a 0 in the tens place. And how many ones? 0 ones. Great job. Let's go down to set B. Okay, over here on the left, here's our example. You can use place value to help you write numbers. So we have this picture here. There are 1, 2, 3 hundreds, 2 tens, and 4 ones. So if we plug those numbers into our hundreds chart, our place value chart, we can go like this. 3 hundreds, because there are 3 hundreds blocks. There's 2 tens, and then there's 4 ones cubes, and now we've made a number. We have made 324, and 304 is the same as 3 hundreds, 2 tens, and 4 ones. Let's look at number 2 together. Let's see, let's plug in our blocks. How many hundreds are there? 1, 2. So there's a 2 in the hundreds place. How many tens are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a 4 in the tens place. And how many ones cubes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what number did we make? 245. That's our number. I want you to try number 3 by yourself. Write it down in your place value chart and then make the number and come back to me when you think you have it. Okay, let's see. How many hundreds are there? 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 hundreds. How many tens blocks are there? 0. There's no tens. So we're going to put a 0 in the tens place. Very important. You can't leave that blank. And then how many ones cubes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what number did we make? 306. That's our number. Great job, you guys. Remember, we are practicing place value and making those numbers. So that is our focus for this whole test and this whole topic. So we got to make sure that we're being very careful with our place values, and we're using tools like our place value charts to help us solve these problems. Let's turn the page. Okay, so on the left side for set C, here's what it says. You can write a number using the standard form, expanded form, and word form. And ladies and gents, they put them in order for us. So this is the standard form, which is how we normally write our numbers. This is the expanded form, which means you're taking the number and you're expanding it into its parts. You're breaking it apart. You're making it bigger, okay? It's not 215. It's something bigger. It's the hundreds, the tens, and the ones all added together. And then we have the word form, which is our numbers written out in words. Pretty easy. So let's see what number we have first. Well, we have 2 hundreds, 1 10, and 5 ones, which would be 2 in the hundreds place, 1 10, and 5 ones. So in standard form, our number is 215. Now let's think how we can break that apart into expanded form in the hundreds, tens, and ones. 2 hundreds makes 200, plus 1 10 would just be 10. And then we have those 5 ones, so we'd have the 5 in this ones place right here. So we have 200 plus 10 plus 5. That's our number in expanded form. And then finally, we have to write it out in word form. So we have to think, how do we spell the numbers? How do we spell 100? Very important, okay? We have to be very careful with our words here. So here's how we write 215. We would say 2 space, new word, 115. Okay. And it's not too tricky. You just have to make sure you know the different words and how to spell them as best as you can. So that way, when we're looking at your work, we know what you're saying and it makes sense to everybody else too. I want you to try number 4. On this line, you're going to write it in standard form. This line, you're going to do expanded form. And down here, you're going to do your best to spell it out with your word form. Take your time. Come back to me when you think you got it. Okay, our first step is going to be actually figuring out what number we're showing. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundreds. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, and 1 cube. So my number is 641, and that's standard form right there. So now I'm going to break it apart into expanded form. So in the hundreds, I have 6 hundreds. So I'm going to say 600. And now in my tens, I have 4 tens. So I'd say plus 40. And then in the ones place, I just have 1, so I'd say plus 1. So 600 plus 40 plus 1 is it 641 in expanded form. Now we have to write out that big number, 641, in words. So we're going to say 641. Nicely done, friends. Let's go down to set D down here. Okay, on the left it says you can show different ways to make numbers. Definitely true. You have to think outside the box with this a little bit, friends, but let's take a peek. So our number is 238. So we need to figure out 3 different ways that we can write out 238, kind of an expanded form, where we're breaking it apart into different numbers that we're adding together. So the first way, the easiest way I like to think of, is writing it in expanded form. So if we wrote it in expanded form, we'd have the we'd have the hundreds, so it'd be 200. And then the tens, which there's 3 tens, which would be 30. And then our ones, which we have 8 ones. So 238 is the same as, or it equals 200 plus 30 plus 8. Now we have to think of another way. An easy way to do this is to move just like 110 over to the ones place. So we would still have 2 hundreds, that wouldn't change. But then in the tens, if we took one of these tens and we regrouped it into 10 ones, we would only have 2 tens left. So then we'd say plus 20. And then we wouldn't have 8 ones, we would have those 8 ones plus the 10 that we just regrouped. And 8 plus 10 is 18. So another way to write out 238 would be 200 plus 20 plus 18. Let's think of one more way. If we can get rid of tens, we could put all of the tens with our 200. So instead of having 200 plus 30, we could say 230 plus our little 8 ones would equal 238. Easy peasy. You just have to think outside the box a little bit. I want you to try number 5. See if you can find 3 different ways to write out 153, and then come back to me when you have all 3 of them done. Okay, let's try it. First, I'm going to do expanded form because that's the easiest way for me to think about it. So 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens, which would be 50. And then 3 ones. So 153 equals 100 plus 50 plus 3. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. I'm going to take 110 and regroup it with my ones. So my 100 is going to stay the same. But instead of having 5 tens, I'm only going to have 4 tens. So that would be 40. And then I wouldn't just have 3 ones, I would have 3 ones plus the 10 I regrouped, which would be 13 ones. So now I have 100 plus 40 plus 13 equals 153. And then I'm going to do one more way. I'm going to follow the same pattern I did on the left. I'm going to put all of my tens with my 100. So instead of having 100 plus 50, I'm going to say 150 plus my 3 little ones makes 153. Let's turn that page, do a couple more problems. Okay, on this set, we're going to be doing our patterns in the place value charts here, or in the hundreds charts. So on the left, it says you can look for patterns with numbers on a hundreds chart. So here they have a big old hundreds chart. They put the ones in red, the tens in blue, and the hundreds, I think that's in purple or black. I can't quite tell. But they have them in different colors so we can see the patterns. So remember, in our hundreds charts, the ones are going to increase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 going across our hundreds chart, but they're going to stay the same going down the hundreds chart. So 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. The tens are going to stay the same in our rows. So 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, but they're going to increase by 1 going down on our hundreds charts. So 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. And then most of the time, the hundreds place is going to stay the same unless we cross over into the next 100. So you'll notice all of the numbers on this little chart are in the 300s. So there's always a 3 in the hundreds place in this chart. So from left to right, the ones digit goes up by 1, which is what we just talked about. And from top to bottom, the tens digit goes up by 1. So those are the 2 ways our digits change. The ones increase going across and the tens increase going down the chart. Let's look at number 6 together. So we have 574. Well, the next number would be 575. And then 576, 577, 578, 579. Now remember, you guys, you can't wrap around on these problems and go, oh, the next number is 580. Because look, the next number is not 580. They have chopped apart our hundreds chart into little pieces. So you have to be very careful with that, okay? So now we have to go down to the next row. Well, I could keep going the way I'm going and do 584 plus 1 is 585. Or I can get a little fancy with it. I can think in adding tens instead and go down my hundreds chart. So 574, 584, 594, because I'm going down, my tens would increase, but my other 2 numbers would stay the same. Same with this one, 575, 585, ooh, there we go. And then the next one would be 595. I can jump over to my 7s here, 577 plus 10 would be 587, plus 10 would be 597. And then I can do this way any way I want, you guys. I just be very careful. But 597, 598, 599, just like that. I want you to do number 7 all by yourself. Come back to me when you think you got it filled in. Okay, let's look. So I don't have my beginning number, so I have to get a little fancy with it. 222 is my first number that I know. So if I do 1 less, that'd be 221. 222, 223, 224, 225, 226. Now remember, I can't wrap around. My next number is not 227. Have to be careful. So if I have 221 up here, if I add 10 and go down a row, my number would be 231, 232, 233, 234, 235, 236. Going down to my next row, 241, 242, 243, 244, 245. Our chart is all filled in. Let's go down to set F. Okay, on the left here it says you can skip count by 5s, 10s, and 100s on a number line. So let's fill this in. We go 200, 300, 400 would be another 100, right? So 400, plus another 100, 500. And then if we continued, plus another 100, 600. I want you to do number 8, fill in the missing numbers, and then come back to me when you have it. Okay, let's look. So let's see. 95, 100. Well, my numbers went up by 5, so I'm going to try that. 100 plus 5 would be 105. Let's see if that works. Plus 5 more would be 110. That does work. So I'm going to keep going. 110 plus 5 would be 115. Plus 5 would be 120. Plus 5 would be 125. And our last number here, 125 plus 5 would be 130. Now remember, ladies and gents, if you ever see a pattern on a number line where the ones are going 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, that means you're probably counting by 5s. So that's a great hint. Let's turn that page and do our last page together. Okay, on the left here in set G, it says you can use place value to compare numbers. So we have 2 numbers here. We need to write them out first. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3 hundreds, 1, 2 tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. So my number on the left is 325. Now my number on the right is 1, 2, 3 hundreds, 1, 2, 3 tens, and just 2 ones. So I have 325 and 332. Those are my numbers I'm comparing. So the hundreds are equal, which means they're the same. There's a 3 in both hundreds places. So we need to compare the tens. We have a 2 in the tens place over here and a 3 in the tens place over here. And that means that 20, 2 tens, is less than 30, 3 tens. Which means this number, 332, has to be larger, has to be greater. So we would say 325 is less than 332 and point our symbol towards 332 because that's the bigger number. Let's try a couple of these over here. 785, is it greater than, less than, or equal to 793? What do you think? 785 is less than 793. There's an 8 in the tens place and a 9 in the tens place. The 793 would be bigger. What about number 10? 199 is greater than, less than, or equal to 198. It would be greater than, because 198 is 1 less than 199. So that means 199 is the bigger number. What about number 11? 452 is greater than, less than, or equal to 452. What do you think? They're the same number. So we would have to say equal, huh? The hundreds are the same, the tens are the same, and the ones are the same. What about number 12? 805 is greater than, less than, or equal to 810. What do you think? That one's a little tricky. Let's see. The hundreds are the same. Ooh, in the tens I have a 0, and in the tens I have a 1. So that means 810 would be bigger because 10 is greater than 0, right? So we would say 805 is less than 810. How about number 13? 902 is greater than, less than, or equal to 897. What do you think it is? Compare those hundreds first. So there's a 9 in the hundreds and an 8 in the hundreds. Well, 900 is bigger than 800, so that means 902 is greater than 897. What about number 14? 451 is greater than, less than, or equal to 516. Well, same thing here, right? 400 or 500. 500 is bigger, so that means 516 is the greater number. So we would say 451 is less than 516. Last couple. 636 is greater than, less than, or equal to 629. What do you think? Hundreds are the same. What about those tens? Well, 3 tens is bigger than 2 tens, so 636 is greater than 629. Last one here, 754 is greater than, less than, or equal to 754. They're the same. 7s in the hundreds, 5s in the tens, and 4s in the ones. That means 754 is the same as or equal to 754. Let's go down to set H. Okay, remember these are thinking habits for you to be using while you are taking tests and solving math problems, so let's read it. Are there things in common that help me? So remember, think about those questions. Is there a pattern? How does it help me? So let's look at our question, number 17. Look for a pattern to solve the problem. So it says these tags are in a drawer. Do you guys notice any patterns in the hundreds, tens, or ones place? Take a peek. What do you notice? Write down what you notice. Look at the ones. Are they changing? Look at the tens. Are they changing? What about the hundreds? Do you notice that the tens and the ones are all the same? 75, 75, 75, 75. But the hundreds are going up by 1. 100, 200, 300. Missing number, 500. So here's the pattern that I notice. The hundreds are increasing by 1, or we are counting by 100s. It means the same thing. So now we have to think, what would the missing number be? Try and find it by yourself first, and then unpause me when you have it. Do you know what it is? Well, 100, 200, 300, 400, so 475. Good job, friends. Okay, here is your homework. There is a little quiz for you to take on your Google Classroom to help you get some more practice and review before your test tomorrow. And then make sure you spend some time on MathFacts Pro or on iReady if you're in my class. Today for my class, it is a MathFacts Pro day, and I think that would be great help for you to help practice those addition and subtraction facts. And then tomorrow, friends, you are going to take the topic 9 test. So good luck, ladies and gents. You will crush it. You will do a fantastic job. And I will see you back here on Thursday for a new math lesson with a new topic. Bye, friends.